Hi everyone, and welcome to Square Force, the channel where I design origami planes just like this one, that look like real-world planes and fly great too. This one here is the Dassault Orage, a fast-flying plane that I think you're really gonna like. This is completely different from that flying wing design we did last week, so I think you're really gonna enjoy how much of a high-performance model this one is. You can see here it's got these nice Canard wings in the front and a nice delta wing in the back, very reminiscent of some fighters from Europe, like the Eurofighter Typhoon, the Dassault Rafale, or the Saab Gripen, all very much an inspiration for this plane here. So let's take a look and see how it flies. Alright, let's learn how to fold the Orage fighter. First, we're going to do the simple horizontal fold here. We're going to fold it right in half. And then unfold it here. Flip it over, and as we usually do here, fold those corners right into that center crease line. And then we're just going to repeat that, bringing them in one more time with this traditional dart style fold for the airplane here. And when I do this, I always like to compare the two sides to make sure that I'm staying even. Always a good idea in paper airplane design to make sure that your two sides are symmetrical. Any differences between the two sides are going to lead to some turning or unstable flying. So I just want to make sure, match those up nice and even there so they're the same on both sides. Now, the fighters that inspired this design all have a flat trailing edge without these little diamonds that stick out. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the same here. This is a personal choice just for aesthetic reasons. It will fly whether or not you do this step, so feel free to skip it if you'd like. But I'm just going to fold these little triangles back in along the edge of the wing here. I'm just going to fold them and line up that edge. Now, not only does this get rid of that little protrusion there from this flat trailing edge, but it also stiffens the wingtip a little bit. So just a little added help to the internal structure of that wing if it hits something. Now I'm just going to turn this little flap over and just reverse that fold underneath. So now it's nice and hidden away. Do the same on this side. Okay. Now, as I said, you don't really need to do that, but it does give it a cleaner profile when we're all done. Okay. So now we're going to actually unfold this wing here and pull out this little tab of paper that was in there before. We're just going to reverse that fold and just let it sit on the outside there. Again, open it up, pull out that paper, and just fold it back in, reverse that little crease there. So now we've got this extra square here that's hanging on the outside of the plane. We got these two flaps. Those are going to become our canards. These are going to be the main wing of the airplane. Okay, let's fold it back in half here. And then we're going to take this corner, this wingtip here, fold it right up so it touches that back corner there. But before you crease it down, don't go all the way. Just do just a tiny little pinch there at the back. Next, we're going to fold from that little indicator that we just made up to that corner one more time. So now, that is when we're going to do the real fold. And I always like to open it back up just so I can match that edge. Make sure all my folds are nice and parallel here at right angles to that back edge of the wing. All right, so now we fold it over. Just kind of get rid of that little indicator pinch you made. It won't show up much in the final design. But we're going to do the exact same thing here on the other side. We're going to fold in on that center crease and then back up to form our wing here. Just like that, matching the other side. Next, we're going to take these front flaps and just follow that same crease line up. Bring it forwards just a little more with both of those. Just like that. Okay. Now, we're going to just unfold that one. We don't need to worry about these for a couple more steps, but we're going to fold this wing back down. So right about the middle, just about halfway between this fold in the middle and this crease that we just made. So right about there or so. You can just eyeball that one. About midway between, we're going to bring them back down. And as I did before, I'm just going to open this up so I can just check that my fold is nice and perpendicular to that back edge. Okay. And as we did last time, we're going to match that on the other side. Fold this wing down. And match everything up so it's nice and straight. Okay. Looks like this one got a little down on me, so I'm just gonna bring it up just a tad so it matches that lower wing a little bit better. Okay. Now it's time to worry about these canards. We're going to open up those two creases that we just made here, this inner fold and this outer one. And we're going to take this edge, this front edge of this little flap, and match that to this innermost crease here, right where it starts to fold up, where the wing joins the body. We're going to match this edge to that crease, just like that, and bring it forwards. Now, when we fold this wing back up, you'll see these layers are connected. They move together. So it's kind of tucked in there and then folded back up. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Open it up by bringing it down, match this front edge to that innermost crease there, and then bring it back up. Smooth everything out. Just like that. Okay. Now, as we did before, we're going to bring this wing back down, and we need to do the same to this now forward section. So we're just going to push in there, make sure everything's secure right here with my left hand, and then I'm just going to gently fold that over and make sure I'm continuing that line as straight as I can far forward, so it's just the same exact continuation of that previous fold. Just like that. Flip it over, do the same thing on this side, fold it down, use your other hand to just stay steady the bottom part here, and carry that fold forwards. So now when we open up our wings, we have this canard shape here where we've got some forward wings and then larger hind wings. Now we're doing great here. We need to add a nose and a tail. So let's take care of the tail first. To do this, you'll just need a pair of scissors. We're just going to make one single cut. I open up my plane here. If I pull those wings down a little bit, we're going to make our cut from this top fold here, the very center of the paper, down past this first crease and end it on this second crease. And it doesn't really matter where you cut. You can see I normally do sort of a swept tail there that makes it maybe a third of the way forwards in that hind wing. But it doesn't really matter too much in terms of the flight performance. One thing though, you do have a few layers of paper down here that you probably don't want to cut into under there. So I would just push those to the side for now and go ahead and make my cut right about like that. You can just eyeball that one. Now, when I fold my wings back up, make sure I put everything back together here. Fold my wings back up, put them together. And now I can just pull up on that tail section and it rises up above the rest of the plane, just like that. Okay. Now, another optional step here, but one that will improve your flight characteristics. You'll notice, especially with all this folding and unfolding, the plane has a tendency to kind of accordion open here and fall open. That's not ideal for flight performance. It would be much better if it stayed like this as much as possible, held together. So we're going to do a little lock in the nose to help with that. We're also going to do a lock in the back to help with that. It's not going to make it fly horribly if you skip that step, but you definitely won't get the maximum amount of range out of this plane unless you lock the tail together a little bit more. So how we do that is we turn it over, and we need to use this section of the paper where it sticks out from behind this layer, which is the bottom layer of paper. We have this little section here. And all I do is I unfold, and I just go from the center crease here back to where it intersects that layer right there, and I just fold it over. So now I'm taking a couple sheets of paper and locking them together just a little bit more, so the back of this plane isn't going to fall open quite as much. It will still a little bit, but not as much. This is a very simple lock. And as I said, it doesn't necessarily make or break the performance of this plane, but it does help keep things a little tighter. Okay, we'll fold this back together. And now you see the wings are tied a little bit more to that back section. You can see the layers pulling against each other. That just helps keep everything in line. All right, we're looking good here. We're almost done. 2 more steps. We're just going to do a little aesthetic fold in the wings, another completely optional step. I just like it because it gives me that little bit extra level of directional control, but feel free to skip it if you'd like. You take this back corner, fold it over to intersect right there. So we're just making a little crease halfway down the width of this wing, just to make it downturned a little bit at the tip, just like that. Again, not super important, but I think it looks nice, and it helps give just a little bit more directional stability when we're flying this. Help everything go nice and straight. All right, so we open those back up. Now we just have a couple little creases right down the front of those wings. And we're gonna go to talk about the nose now. So the nose of this plane is gonna be really sharply swept. As I do with most of my other designs, I'm just going to follow this angle here. Now, you make this even easier on yourself. You can fold the canards up, and then you just fold over. Make sure that nose there follows the line of the front of your wings, and then open it back up and just push it down right through the middle. Just like that. So now you started like this, just push it down right along the center line of the plane. So now it sinks underneath, and we have a triangle of paper left over underneath the plane. So we're going to get rid of that and lock the nose together by just reversing this. You can do the exact same kind of fold. So you fold it up along the upper layer there, right along that bottom edge, and then you stick it back through. So now it comes out the top. If you open that up so you can see, it just looks like a little accordion there of triangles. Okay, so now instead of going back under, we are going to lock the nose together by doing a squash fold. So I'm going to push right down the middle of this, open up the layers a little bit, and squash it down just along that same line there that forms the front edge of the nose. So now I have a little bit of a diamond shape here. I'm going to wrap that around the plane's nose so it extends back underneath now, but now it's on the outside instead of the inside. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that crease is nice and secure there. Really push that down, And then all that's left is to tuck in these last little triangles that are left underneath the plane. So I'm going to open up just a little bit there and just fold them over and tuck them back inside the plane. Squeeze them together, and now you'll see the nose of this plane holds together really nicely. It's got a great look to it. I'm going to fix my wings now. I've had them folded up for a while in those steps. So I'll just make the canards here for this design pretty much parallel with the ground, nice and flat. And then I usually give the hind wings here just a little bit of a dihedral to help that plane's stability. So you end up with the Dassault Orage looking like this. Really great design in terms of flying fast and far, and also nice and straight. You have some control surfaces where you can adjust the canards or you can adjust the tail. I like to give it a little bit of an up elevator if you're flying it indoors and you can't necessarily get a ton of speed on it. Might help to just give it a little more lift in the back. So to do all the adjustments here with that, all you have to do is take the tail and just sort of bend it forwards here towards the spine of the aircraft and just sort of reinforce that bend there. And now you have just a little upward tilt on the back of that plane, just enough to help it fly a little bit smoother if you can't throw it extra hard in the environment you're in. Okay, we are pretty much done here. I do have one other thing that I like to do to this plane for aesthetic reasons, another change that doesn't really affect how it flies, but I think it looks really great. Of course, real-life engines are going to stick out the back, and there's going to be kind of like a round nozzle that most jet engines are going to have in the back right here. And we have just sort of a sharp angle, but I just like to take the plane and squash it a little bit right at the back, right down that center crease. So in the back, instead of just that triangular shape, now you have just a little bit of a rounded off or squared off engine. It looks pretty neat, and it does let the plane look a little bit more streamlined from the side as well. But again, totally up to you. That one's not going to make much of a difference either way in terms of how it flies. But there you go. That's your finished plane. And once again, I have plenty of designs coming, so if you want to stick around and see all of the things that are coming out every week, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you as a member of the channel. And then also, if you enjoyed this, feel free to drop a like. I'd appreciate that. Let me know in the comments too. This is directly inspired by an international jet. I'm based in the US, so for me, this is sort of an exotic plane from around the world, inspired by the European designs. There's plenty of other countries that have fighter planes. So if you have a favorite jet or something you would like to see, maybe a country that you would like me to pick a design from, please feel free, let me know in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts about that, and I'll be back with more designs later. Thanks so much.